Jana, thank you. As prescription drug shortages across the country continue to rise, more patients are suffering those consequences. Now, cancer patients are facing a shortage from drugs needed for their chemotherapy treatments. Western Mass reporter Daniel Santiago joins us live in studio after getting answers on that local impact. Daniel.
Amanda, the shortages directly impacting chemotherapy treatments started back in November after the U.S. and Food and Drug Administration halted production at a manufacturing plant in India that provided with the most of our country's supply. Prescription drug shortages have become a growing problem in the healthcare system in the United States, especially since COVID-19 swept the nation. But the shortage of two drugs in particular is creating an urgent situation for patients being treated for cancer. According to a recent survey by the National Comprehensive Cancer Network, 70% of cancer centers in the United States are experiencing a shortage of cisplatin, and 93% are running low on carboplatin, two drugs used in chemotherapy. Those shortages impacting chem treatments are causing hospitals across the country to react quickly. And right here in Western Mass, Baystate Health is doing the same.
We have had emergency meetings every week for the last few months. And what we do, we meet with pharmacy, nursing, oncology leadership, and we assess our current drug supply, our current demand, and we estimate the resupply date. And we're trying to be very proactive so that we have enough drug for our patients and for their needs.
Dr. McCary Judson tells Western Mass News medical professionals are seeing more drugs being put under shortage warnings, more so in the last 6 months. And many pharmaceutical companies are behind these shortages.
This goes beyond supply chain. It's not just limited manufacturing. A lot of it has to do with the fact that many of these medications are generic drugs, and generic drugs are less profitable, so there's less interest in making them.
As patients grow worried, different groups are advocating on their behalf. The American Cancer Society is warning about the shortages becoming a life-threatening issue. And in a statement shared with Western Mass News, they say in part, quote, "A number of drugs included in the shortage don't have an effective alternative, as first-line treatments for a number of cancers, including triple-negative breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and leukemia often experienced by pediatric cancer patients. The shortage could lead to delays in treatment that could result in worse outcomes." Now, some oncologists are opting to lower the dose for some patients and in some cases have longer periods of time between the treatments and in order to still treat their patients and make supplies last. Reporting live in studio, Daniel Santiago, Western Mass News.